We are now at part 7. It's the heart, and we're on page 675, and we're looking at this diagram right here in this figure. I've annotated a little bit, and I hope it's legible enough for you to see what's going on. I'll come up close to it. So this is the big overview of the heart. We have two nodal points here. This is called the SA node, the sinoatrial node. This is called the AV, the atrioventricular node. These are two nodes. Notice that this node is a standalone feature, and it does not have, it only has a pathway. It does not actually have any material connection to the AV node right here. Okay, so it's going to actually use the membrane of the heart tissue cells as its pathway to cross. Assuming that those are healthy cells, the signal will get across. This is the actual pacemaker of the heart. This is sort of a, how would I say, an assistant or a slave to this. So this only fires off when that fires off. Okay? This is actually a very slow beating node in reality on its own. Notice that it has its own, shall we say, axons down here with axon terminals, neuromuscular junctions and so on, and it's coming down like an anchor here. So the charge is going to move down, and we're going to depolarize the bottom of the heart, and then we're going to depolarize higher up, higher up, higher up on the heart. Okay. Also, the papillary muscles will get charged on their own so that they have some strength to resist the push against the valves there, prevent prolapse. Okay, so we want the wave of depolarization to go upwards because we're going to be moving the blood up and out of the heart. So let's take a close look here at the SA node, and I've got it hooked up here to the vagus nerve. Okay, so the vagus nerve coming down, as you recall, through the jugular foramen of the skull, along with 9, 10, and 11 travel together. This is 10. So the vagus nerve coming down the neck, coming down through the thorax, coming down finally, as it's still a whole, complete, clear to see nerve all the way to get to the heart. After it reaches the heart, it becomes more of a plexus than a nerve, a whole nerve, so to speak. But at any rate, we're coming down here. Notice the negative sign. I'm depolarizing this. I'm hyperpolarizing this, excuse me. So I'm creating IPSPs, inhibitory postsynaptic response here in this. I'm trying to slow it down is what I'm trying to say. Okay, why am I trying to slow it down? So the SA node wants to beat at something over greater than 100 beats per minute, probably greater than 110 even beats per minute. And I need to slow this guy down because at rest we're not supposed to be at 110. That would be tachycardia. If you're a really fit athlete, the vagus nerve will give you even more parasympathetic tone and cause your heart to go slower than the usual 72 or 70. Okay, but we're trying to get it down from over 100 to down to 70 in the average individual. Okay, and so that's the goal here with the vagus nerve. How do we do that? We open up potassium channels, and we create hyperpolarity. We create inhibitory postsynaptic sorts of charges, and that slows things down. Okay, so that if that's going to be our pace, 70 at rest, then we come down here, and we're actually moving straight through the tissue itself. I want you to remember that because we're going to look at EKG and find out, or ECG to find out what is going on with the wave patterns. Okay, here's the AV. The AV wants to go at 40. Okay, that's its favorite rhythm right there, kind of a slow guy. But the SA node will speed him up in the average person. Okay, I'm saying that because there are people out there in the universe who run ultra marathons and so on. They're right here near the San Francisco Bay Area, and they have pulses around 40. Right, so they don't have anything. They don't have any need for the SA node. when they're in their most fit state. Okay, so here's the deal now. The AV node wants to go 40, but it's getting charged up by the SA node right straight through the tissue, and so it goes off after the SA node gives it a little nudge, and it goes at 70, and the information travels down this way. So this is positive. We have sodium. It's an EPSB. It's a sodium channel is opening right there. So that's that. Okay, then we have these bundle branches here. Historically, it's called bundle of His. I'm assuming there is a scientist whose last name is His. I've been studying all the scientists of the 18th century to try to gather the names, the professors of Claude Bernard and all those people, Magendie and all those. At any rate, so a bundle of His coming down this way, and we're going to be basically bringing the action potential to the bottom of the heart and working up from there. Okay, so that's that diagram, and we press on now. Here we're going to look from the beginning now at this event right here, the Pqrst wave, and we're going to take a look again here at the heart and try to recall what we just noted. First of all, we have the two nodes. We have the SA node, we have the AV node. They have a mind of their own, but the vagus, they're giving us the vagus up here, is coming out. This is cranial nerve 10, and it's giving us a negative IPSP, slowing the heart down to whatever it needs to be, like 70. And here we have information coming from T1 to L2 of the sympathetic nervous system coming out, and here we're attempting to speed the heart up should we decide to run up the stairs or take a run outside or play basketball or something like that. And so we have two different ways that we can change the heart rate from the set points that are sort of built in. Okay, so with that in mind, then we're going to come over here and consider this wave, and we're going to notice that P represents atrial depolarization. Now, the atrium is not a very big muscular player in this, and so it's only got sort of a small wave here, the P wave. It comes down. Then we have this big QRS wave. The QRS wave represents the ventricle. The ventricle is a much bigger chamber, and its depolarization is much more noticeable, a lot more EMF going on. The amplitudes here are quite different. And then we have this thing over here called the T wave. The T wave is ventricular repolarization. It happens just after the depolarization event. Okay, so it repolarizes and gets ready to do it again in the next sequence out there. Well, one question you might ask is, where is the atrial repolarization? And of course, that's like looking for the stars at noon. This has basically overwhelmed anything that could represent atrial repolarization. It's in here somewhere, but it's a small component of the QRS. So this is mainly the ventricular depolarization. Okay, then we move on from there, and what we're going to do then is we're going to follow the wave down this list of figures here. Okay, so that's going to be our event. What does it look like when we have a P wave going on? What's actually going on in the heart is that the SA node has fired off and has begun the electrification of these tissues here. Remember, it doesn't have any sort of fiber coming from it, no axon. It's just going to have to electrify the entire tissue. When we get past the P wave, that means all of this has been depolarized, and we're complete with that. Okay? And I'll pick up the rest of the story in this next part.